Hello and welcome to the Coaching Podcast, Coaching for Success in Sport and Business. Your host is Emma Doyle, the energy and high performance under pressure coach who is a world leader in unleashing human potential. Buckle up for this high octane session. Let them have it, coach.
G'day everybody and welcome to the Coaching Podcast. I have the honour and pleasure today of interviewing Joe White, who I met through Vistage. So he's a Vistage chair, and I love that he brings this element of both sport and business, which is what the podcast is all about, playing competitive sports, excelling in baseball. He was played for the Cincinnati Reds and the Seattle Mariners, if I pronounce that correctly. A couple of injuries there, ending his baseball career. But I love the fact that this background in high performance sport really propelled him into teaching in business, accounting, business law, and professional business, leading you to what you do today. But you're so much more than your bio as it relates to your book, which we'll talk about later. But I want to start with some of your direct reframes. You and I share a bit of a passion for this. Off air, you were telling me that some of the words that you don't resonate with and may become extinct, the word boss, the word manager, and I don't know about you, but the word subordinate, for me, I can't handle that one either. Yeah. Let's go immediately into, obviously, welcoming you to the show and your reframes, your take on those three words to kick it off.
Well, first, thanks for having me, Coach Em. It's you know how I feel about you and what you're doing is amazing. And I'll start with the word boss. I can't stand that word. It kind of implies to me that someone's way up here and everyone else is way down here and they're doing this to them. I like to tell the people I work with is you want to establish a work with relationship with people, not a work for relationship with people. And that's a huge thing for me. I think a boss, in terms of, it's a negative connotation, first of all. You never hear somebody really talking about a boss in a positive way. It's something that I think needs to be taken out of our language. A boss means that you're controlling somebody. You're in control of them. You want them to do the certain way and so forth. But so I like to establish, instead of boss, it's a coach or a leader. In terms of manager, I think you manage process, and I think you manage machines, and you coach and lead people. And it's a term that's used in baseball, in professional baseball, the manager of the team, okay, because they're managing the lineup, they're managing all these different things. But when it comes down to them, they're coaching and leading people. And when you hear people talk about the manager, the great managers, every time they talk about a great manager, they're talking about how good they were at leading people. So I just think that in the business world, we need to take that out. I don't want people, especially Gen Zers and so forth, they don't like the term somebody's managing me, right? But they do like that. They're okay with coaching and mentoring. Subordinate is just putting someone below someone else. And I know we have hierarchies, and I know we have organizational flow charts and all those different things. No one should ever feel like they're subordinate to someone else. In anything that we do in business and sports and whatever, we should all feel like we are on an equal plane. Someone might be better at something at that particular time, but it doesn't mean that person can't get to that level or beyond who's below them at the certain time. But they're not subordinate. We're all people made in God's image, in my opinion, and we're all created. We're all so unique and so different, but we're also special in our own way. And to say someone's subordinate is kind of going against that philosophy.
You know, team member, teammate, there's my Aussie lingo coming to town. At the end of the day, that's what they are. Yes. Whether you're leading that team, it is about seeing everybody as contributing members of the team. So awesome way to kick it off. And I think that the other thing I want to go to first as well is talking about awards like Coach of the Year, and you've been awarded that twice, and also I know your dad, you mentioned off air, was also a coach, and Hall of Fames and these things that mark stadiums and names, and that's all great. It's a great accolade, but talk to me about who your dad was and what did he instill in you that then these awards are almost like a bonus on top, is the way I see it. But how do you see it?
I see it as that. It's here's what my dad taught me. It's about people. And my dad taught me it's about relationships. My dad taught me it's about seeing where these people can be down the road from when you coached them. My dad was very sick in December. We thought we were losing him. We started making some calls to people just to kind of tell people what was going on and everything else. And all of a sudden through the door came 5 people walking through his hospital door, and they are from his team from 1972. They were over 70 years old that came back to see my dad because they thought he was passing. He's since recovered somehow. It's a miracle, and that taught me everything, right? It's the impact that you have on people. It's the lasting impact that you have on people. And he taught me that. He taught me that it's not about the wins and losses. He lost some very critical games and state championships and so forth. And after the game, he was the one consoling everyone else. He was the one making sure everyone else was feeling better. And he was the one who was looking around and being positive and just being thankful that he had an opportunity to be there and to be there with those kids and be there to coach those kids. And it taught me a lot more than just wins and losses. It's not about the wins and losses. It's about the relationship with people. And he's an amazing human being. He's my hero. He's my ultimate mentor. He'll leave a legacy. He's left a legacy. He's going to leave a legacy that's never be broken. And he's got a wild story of growing up and so forth, but it's all about how selfless he is and how selfless he is to others is really the main thing.
Mm. Well, it's awesome that you fortunate to have that upbringing.
Amazing.
So let's talk about your playing career, and I'm curious to know. Obviously, you ended up coaching baseball and football. So I'm curious about, was that something when you were growing up, did you have to choose between the two sports? And did your dad coach you? Talk me through that.
Well, he didn't. That's an interesting story. I played football, basketball, and baseball from 7 years old through high school. So I was a 3-sport athlete. I highly recommend that to kids. You and I talked about that on our podcast, that having the multiple sports really helps you develop in a lot of different areas. I did have to make a choice between football and baseball, and I loved baseball. I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player growing up. I spent my whole childhood on the football and baseball field with my dad coaching. I'd beg my mom after school to take me down to my dad's school so I could be with my dad on the field and so forth. And so it was interesting. But baseball was an easy choice for me because that was really my true passion. As far as my dad coaching me, I actually played against my dad. In high school, he coached at our rival school. But we lived in our district where I was supposed to go to school. And in those days, you went to the school you were supposed to go to. So I went to Arapahoe High School, and my dad was the coach at Littleton High School, and that was our big rivalry game. Under the lights, all these people would come, and there's my dad coaching third base, and I was up pitching against his team and so forth. And it was quite an experience for my mom. But yeah, I wouldn't change it. It was great. But as far as a kid, I got coached by my dad just being on the field with my dad. He never actually coached one of my teams or anything like that. He never wanted to have somebody say, well, the only reason he's playing is because his dad's the coach and all that kind of stuff. He was a little oversensitive in that area probably, but yeah, I learned so much from him.
Mm.
Still do to this day. I learn something from him every day.
Absolutely. We all can in every moment. And coaching football and baseball, different or the same?
Different, different competition, different types of competition, um, different intensity levels. Football has a play, every 30 seconds, there's a play for 5 to 10 seconds, and then boom. Baseball's a little bit more drawn out, a little bit kind of a little bit more laid back. I didn't play it that way, but that's kind of how it is. I enjoyed coaching football. I was the defensive coordinator for our football team, and I enjoyed it because I loved the competitiveness of it and I loved the strategy of it. And I enjoyed baseball too with the strategy. I loved practice. I really loved practice because it gave me a chance as a coach to help my players develop and get better. And the games were the test of it, but I had to prepare them for the games through the practice. It's called the process with me. And we needed to win that process so that to make practice hard so games were easy. I love that grind of the practice of watching kids develop and get better.
So I'll push you on that. You spoke about the strategy. I get that the games are different. I'm just wondering about the people in how you coach the people.
Probably a little bit more intense in football. It's a very intense 5 to 10 second play in and play out where they're hitting people and doing those things and so forth. And so I think the intensity of the football was there. So I was probably a little bit more intense coaching football and making sure that my players were meeting that intensity level, because if they didn't, they might get hurt. Realistically, out on a play, if they're not playing with a lot of grit and determination and resiliency, they could get hurt, and they needed to keep playing and keep getting better at it and so forth. In baseball, it's a little bit more long drawn out. So I wasn't probably as intense in baseball. I could be. What threw me off, what really kind of got me going as a coach is when I felt a player was playing scared. If they were out there playing scared, whether it was football or baseball, that really threw me over for an edge because I never wanted them to be scared in their life. When they went for that first job interview that they were going to have someday, I didn't want them walking in there scared. I want them to walk in that prepared and ready to go and ready to compete at it. When they were asking their wife to marry them someday, their girlfriend to marry them someday, I wanted them to get into that, not be scared, to have confidence in themselves, to be prepared. All those different things. When they would go to make a sales call 10 years from when I coached them, I didn't want them to walk into that scared. So if they were playing a football game or a baseball game and they were playing that play scared or apprehensive or whatever, that's what kind of threw me off, because I'm sitting there going, if they're playing in this game scared, how are they going to be in real life? And that's what I used coaching for, was to prepare my kids for real life.
So what's one practical way that you were able to teach that without necessarily telling them, hey, don't be scared?
To prepare them in practice was the biggest thing. So we used a lot of things in practice that simulated game situations and put something on it. What I call it is CPC. You coach it, you practice it, and you challenge it. And this goes in business, it goes in everything. But you got to coach them on how you want them to do it. So if I'm teaching a kid how to take on a fullback coming at me as a linebacker, and I want to take him on and try to stuff that block, or if I want to teach a kid how to turn a double play in baseball, I'm going to coach them on the technique. Then what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to practice it like crazy so that they get a lot of reps. So rep, 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 rep. So they get better at that skill. And then the last thing, and this is the thing I think a lot of coaches miss, is you have to challenge them on that. So if I'm teaching them how to turn a double play in baseball, I'm going to teach them the skill. I'm going to hit tons of ground balls to them and make them rep it. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have runners running now as I hit ground balls. And I'm going to tell them, if you don't turn this double play, what do you guys want to do? And it's not punishment. It's another P word. It's pressure. So they're going to say, well, we'll do 20 push-ups. Fine. So I hit a ground ball. They don't turn a double play. The two runners get safe, or one runner gets safe. They got 20 push-ups. I've got to put some kind of pressure on them in practice. So when it comes to the game, it's not something that they haven't been through before. And so it's CPC. And you know as well as I do, challenge is when the light bulb goes on. And I'm never going to challenge any of my players in something that they can't do. Right? I'm not going to put them in a situation and challenge them in something that they physically just can't do.
Yep.
So I'm challenging them, and I'm telling them that I'm going to challenge you because I believe that you can do this. I know you can do this.
Yep.
And so where I think a lot of leaders miss out is that last C, the challenge part.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I also, for sports coaching listening, this is a bit of a passion of mine to not just use physical punishment as the challenge. There are so many other ways as well, in my opinion, of creating the challenge, such as writing half a page about the mindset of a champion.
There you go.
Something along those lines. Just think
Awesome.
outside the square for the challenge consequence that still adds pressure.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Had teams singing, you have to sing The Sound of Music.
There you go. I like that.
Right? In front of their peers. So there's other things that they're like, no way I want to sing in front of my friends. Or so there's other ways of doing it, because I always want kids to fall in love with I used to reward them with the physical conditioning stuff as well.
I like doing that too.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity. We used to call it opportunity period. And you have an opportunity to get better here. And that's when you were going to run or do the things that are hard. That's why that's such a good point. And that's why I liked for them to choose the pressure, right? Because now they own the pressure. I'm not sticking that pressure on them.
Nice.
It's like they own the pressure. I don't want to own the pressure. I want them to own it. So what do you guys want to, I would ask them, what do you want to do for pressure? And I'm going to use that next time. I'm going to say, okay, here's some things beyond those things. Here's, sing a song or.
Yep. Give them a list.
Yeah,
list of 10 things and then open up. I love that too. So even though we've been talking baseball and football and, your dad and the impact on building that relationships, everything we're talking about really does relate to business. And I'm curious about the recent leadership opportunities in education you have done. The Energy Bus is a great book that I've read, and the whole positive leadership, the science behind it, and what you've recently become qualified in as could you tell us more about what you did, why did you do it, and what was some of the outcomes of your study?
Yeah, so I got certified through John Gordon in the Energy Bus, the Power of Positive Leadership, and the Power of Positive Teams to be a speaker and trainer in those things. And it's really allowed me to, I really connect with John Gordon and his teachings and his thought processes with this. So it's allowed me to connect with that and use my stuff too. And I believe in it. I believe in it fully. You and I have talked immensely about this. I think the number now is 69% of Americans are disengaged at work. And I know about 85% of those 69% say it's because of the leadership they work for. And that bothers me greatly. And it bothers me greatly that people are going to work every day and they don't want to be there. And they have to spend 8 to 12 hours there and so forth. So I'm going to try to do my part in helping leaders understand their responsibility in this and understand how to become better and how to become better as people. And John Gordon is one of the first books I read, The Energy Bus, when I was kind of retiring from teaching and coaching. And it just really resonated with me and it really fit my thought processes. And so I took the leap and did some study and did some classes on it and became certified. And now I can go out and speak on those things. Plus, I do a lot of speaking on my book and purpose and passion and so forth. And so, yeah, it's been a good mixture. And the more I can learn, the more I can keep growing in all this. It's why I love listening to you, and listening to your workshop is amazing. It's just, you just keep learning and growing and progressing through this so that we can help and serve people.
Absolutely. Give me a gold nugget from the training. Like, what's one thing that you either live by, or a tool, something practical that coaches listening to this could glean from your study?
Yeah, one of the things from the John Gordon studies that I've been doing is, we've all heard the word tough love, and John Gordon likes to turn that around. And he says it's love tough. So basically, what you do first is you care and love your people. They understand that you care and love them. Now you can challenge them. Now you can be tough on them. Now you can, push them. Now you can get them to the next level by challenging and pushing and doing the things you need to do to get them to that next level.
So
But
good.
and I really resonated with that. I was,
I
because
love it.
we've heard the term tough love for our whole life, right? And it's like, no, he flips it, and it's love tough. Love them first, and then be tough on them, or if you
So
have
good.
to. So
So good.
it's,
Thank you. That's
yeah,
100% what I knew there was something there. I had to unpick that one.
yeah,
That's
it's
so
good.
good. The other
It's
one I
really good.
really like, because of course your podcast is called the People Progressing Podcast, in the fact that we're continuously progressing. Your book with the 3P's: purpose, passion, and perspective. And a lot of people know what they're passionate about, and this is my experience as well. Like, I'm passionate about this. A lot of people need help unpacking their purpose. That's a little bit more to find that higher purpose, but really, really important. So let's say they've got the passion, they've got the purpose. And then you talk about this concept of imagining arrows just
Yeah.
pricking into that. And not every day, even I wake up and go, oh my goodness, I'm so on purpose with my passion and everything's in flow. Yeah, it happens, but even I struggle with that from time to time, those arrows piercing the negative self-talk, etc. So talk to me about your concept around that, as it relates to a practical tool that we can use to with your third P. I'm super curious on, why did you even put perspective in the book title, and then explain the arrow concept.
If I ask people what their purpose is, most people can take 1 to 5 minutes and tell me what their purpose is. And sometimes we have to help them unpack that, like you said. The hard part, the challenging part, is living in that purpose. It's the same thing with culture, right? When we talk about culture in a business, I can ask any business leader, what's your culture? What do you want your culture to be? And they could probably tell me. The hard part and the challenging part is for them to live in that culture on a daily basis. So what I do is I have people draw a big circle, and I have them put their purpose inside that circle. And then I have them draw arrows coming at that circle. And those arrows represent what I call the noise, the things that are trying to get at us to take us out of our purpose. And we all have those every day. And it could be somebody has hired you to come do a keynote. You're ready to go. You got it all set. You're in your purpose there because you're going to go out and help people and support people and do all those things. And then all of a sudden, last minute, they call and say no one signed up, and then that's a big arrow coming at us. Now we start second guessing ourselves. Is it me? Am I not interested in it? Whatever it is. So those arrows are coming at us every day. And I read this in Jay Shetty's book, and it really resonated with me. And he said that the monks have a saying that you protect your purpose, so your purpose protects you. So it just made me think, okay, so if I have a purpose, I'm going to put that in the circle or in the bubble, and the arrows are coming to pop that bubble and take me out of my purpose, suck the purpose out of me. What can I do to protect it? So I have people draw a big piece of memory foam around it, like big thicker circle, and that represents memory foam. And the arrows come in and stick in that memory foam, but they don't take us out of our purpose. And what that helps us do is realize what those arrows are trying to do. Subconsciously, we don't really understand sometimes. We don't sit there and think, well, that's just trying to get me out of my purpose, so I'm going to stay in there. But if we have a picture of it, we can see those arrows actually coming, and I have people label those arrows. I have, like in teaching, we would say an email from a parent, okay, or the school board said this or did this. Well, those are all arrows trying to take us out. And so it's a visual to give people more consciously aware of what these things are trying to do to us and to keep us to fight them off. But I tell people, I used to tell people to draw a big piece of granite around there and the arrows would come and bounce off. And I was doing a podcast with a lady up in Montana and she said, I'll challenge you on that. She said, if they bounce off, then they never learn from them. I said, that's a good point. That's when I switch it to memory foam. So the memory foam sticks. And now we can learn, grow, and progress from those arrows, get better from them, but we can stay in our purpose. And I can tell you that when you stay in your purpose, that's when you're rewarded. That's when you feel good about life. That's when you have peace and all those things. So don't let those arrows get to you. Fight them off, learn from them, grow from them, and progress from them, but understand what they're doing.
And shift your perspective. That was your big.
Yeah, the perspective of it is when an arrow comes at me, what's my perspective on life that's gonna be the glue that holds my purpose and passion together. So a lot of people say, my perspective is it could be worse, or my perspective is I'm going to learn and grow from every situation, or my perspective is, so that perspective that you have, and it can change, but that it's kind of like the glue. It's the glue that sits there and says, this is trying to take me out, but I'm going to learn and grow from it. And I'm going to live life to the fullest. Boom. That beats any arrow that comes at you. That's what's going to hold that glue together and hold your purpose and passion together so you can live in that every day. My job is to help people learn and grow and keep living in them and help them stay in that purpose and passion every day so they enjoy life. We only get to do this once. And when you're in that purpose and passion, when you're out giving your workshop, you're in that circle all day, all 3 hours, man. And you're just loving life to its fullest. That's what I want to do, is keep people in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 1 to a maximum of 3 words, what do you think makes a great coach?
Care. They care about their people. They inspire their people. And they leave a lasting legacy with their people.
So what legacy do you want to leave?
I want to leave a legacy where my players or the people I coach now have a lasting legacy on the people that they're coaching, the people that they're leading. I ask people every time when I'm working with my business leaders now, I ask this question: 20 years from now, if I went to the people that you were leading and I asked them who's been inspirational in your career and in your life, do you think they'll say you? Do you think that you'll be one of the people they mention? And if not, why? And I want them to be one of those people that inspires and helps people. And that's why I coach, is to help others do the same. When I coached, my goal, I didn't judge the success of our baseball program or our football program by how many state championships we won or anything like that. I judge it by how many relationships we built that we still have 20, 30 years from when we built it. So if I coached a kid when he was 18 and he's now 38, do I still have a relationship with that kid? Is that kid still call me? Does he ask me to does he let me know when his wife just had a baby or whatever those things are? That means that I had a piece of a good thing of their life. And that's what I really want to be as a coach. I want to be a good piece of their life, a good thing that they can look on and be happy about, positive about.
Yep. Well, you described yourself as an ideas man. So I'm just wondering, what idea do you have for the future of leadership that sort of keeps you awake at night, that you go, oh, this is something that I need to share with the world?
Yeah, it's such a great question. It's about people. It's about helping people learn. It's about helping people keep growing. And it's about helping people keep progressing in their life, taking that next step forward. The only way that we're going to progress is to take the next step. Small step, big step, whatever step it is, it's a step forward. What I've learned through this business coaching is it's an amazing to work with these business leaders because of how much they can take a risk, and they're willing to take a risk by just taking another step forward and another step forward. And I want people to enjoy life, and I want people who are leading people, so business owners, CEOs, presidents, and so forth, to realize the responsibility they have in helping their people enjoy what they do on a daily basis, to feel like they have a true purpose to come to work. I think you find your purpose when your purpose is greater than yourself. So what kind of purpose are you giving your employees to come to work every day that's greater than themselves, to be a part of a team, to accomplish something that's greater than themselves for the good of all? And sounds easy, sounds really easy, but there's a lot of arrows coming at a lot of these business leaders, right, that take them out of that. And so when you ask that question, it's a great question. The answer to that is just helping people understand what their purpose of a leader is, and the purpose of the people that are working there in those businesses, what their purpose is in being there. They have a reason to come to work every day. I call it get to, have to. They don't have to come to work, they get to come to work. Just think if every day someone goes to work and a Monday felt just as good as a Friday. That's really what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't subscribe to hump day or thank God it's Friday, or no, I agree. And today's a Monday and I couldn't think of anywhere else I'd rather be.
Yeah, me too.
But, having this conversation with you. All right. So finishing on mindset. I've had a lot of people over the course of my podcast say, you fix, or not fix, that's an unforced error by me. You adjust your mindset and then you adjust your behavior. And then some people say you reverse engineer it, you adjust your behavior, and then that impacts the mindset. I'm not saying one's exclusive or the other, but I do know you have a very interesting concept about talking to yourself versus listening to yourself. I'm talking about your inner voice, everybody, the one who sometimes says you're not enough or you're not good enough, etc. We all have it. What's your take on mindset and its relationship to behavior to land this episode?
Mindset is, I think I told you this story before, but there's a guy who did 5 ultra triathlons. And that's a triathlon where you do it on one day and then you come back the next day and do the same thing. 2 triathlons in 2 days. And he's done it like 5 or 6 times. He's the only guy in the world to do it. And he came out and he said, somebody asked him the question, how did you do this? And he said, I learned how to talk to myself instead of listen to myself. And you mentioned it on my podcast that we have 65,000 thoughts a day. 80% of those thoughts are negative, and 90% of those thoughts we had this day before. So we're constantly bombarding ourselves with negative thoughts and we're listening to these thoughts and things. And most of those thoughts are from the outside and how we're perceiving things. And what that guy taught me really was, okay, I can overcome that by talking to myself. I can talk good thoughts into myself because that's the truth. What I'm saying to myself is the truth. What I'm thinking to myself a lot of times is from outside sources that are coming at me, that are making me think that, right? So when I talk to myself and my mindset is I can overcome this, like when I'm having a problem with something, when I'm trying to add to my Vistage group or something and I'm having a difficult time doing that, I can sit there and think to myself, I'm not a good salesperson, or I'm not very good at convincing people, or I'm not. But I can also sit there and say, you know what? You are very good at that. You've done it before. You can do it again, and you're going to do it again. Now, which one would you rather live life by? And it's a choice, right? The superhuman power that we have is the power of choice. So I can choose to listen to those 80% negative thoughts out of the 65,000 thoughts I'm going to have today, or I can start training myself and getting better at it, and training myself to get better at out talking those thoughts. Okay, beating those negative thoughts by talking positive to myself and believing in myself, because I don't believe God made everyone in our own unique way is a special person. That's how we were made. But we think ourselves the other way. But if we talk ourselves and believe in that, I think it's really powerful.
Yep. And I would just add to that, coaches listening to this, I don't think it's one versus the other. I think always think about who's in front of you to know whether change the behavior first and then the mindset will follow, or adjust the mindset and then the behavior will follow. So for what it's worth, that's my take on it. And I think it fits nicely with your arrow concepts of, of course, we all have these thoughts, even you and I, right? We're being honest. And so we need to find what's going to be the most effective for us to think big, start small, move fast. It was a keynote I did about 2 years ago, but I'd almost forgotten that. You triggered me to remember that, the title of that keynote, because it's what we want for all of us, is to think big, dream big, have the vision out there, start small, take action. It might be just changing one thought and then move fast.
Right. So it's about the process, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about your vision, you talk about, people talk about vision, talk about goals. Those are awesome. I think those are great. But if you don't set up the process to get there, in what I call win that process. So if you set up a process to get to this goal, but during the time you're in the process, you cheat it. So you don't do something you're supposed to do in the process. You cheat the process. Now, if you don't get the goal or you do get the goal, you're probably still going to have some regret because you cheated the process, right? But if I win the process, I do everything I'm supposed to do to get to that goal, and I come up short of that goal, I'm probably not going to have regret because I did everything I possibly could to get to that goal.
Yep.
So I call it fear regret. I want to fear regret by winning the process.
Absolutely.
Okay? And whatever that, I love helping people set up their processes, okay, more than really setting up their goal. I want them to set their goal or their vision, but okay, that's great. Now let's get really down to work on the process and how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
Because that's what you have to win. And most of the time, if you win the process, you'll probably win the goal.
Absolutely.
So that's huge for me. It's win the process and fear regret. Our job as leaders is to help people not have regret later on.
Yeah. Absolutely. Coach Joe White Consulting.com. I appreciate you. I appreciate your wisdom. Amazing. Please check out Joe White's Vistage. He leads a life of climb. That's, of course, the Vistage tagline, and I'm a Vistage ambassador. Big fan. Shout out to Chris Noonan, who it's the first time I got to meet Joe. Was with Chris as well, and some pretty amazing chairs out there. Joe White, you being one of them with your coaching and teaching background. I appreciate your care, your inspiration, and of course, leading a life of legacy every time we get out of bed. Thank you for being on the Coaching Podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been great, and it's been great getting to know you. The work you're doing is amazing, and people, if you haven't been to one of her workshops and so forth, hire her, bring her in for a workshop, because they are life-changing workshops that make people think, they make people grow, and they make people better. Yeah. And just amazing work what you're doing. I appreciate you so much.
Right back at you. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you all for listening.
The Coaching Podcast is sponsored by Transition Coach for Athletes, a global coaching, mentoring, and U.S. college sporting scholarship placement service. The service helps athletes navigate the often challenging world of choosing your best college fit while maximizing sports performance. Visit www.transitioncoachforathletes.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating review on your podcast listening device. And don't forget to tell a fellow coach about the show. The ball is in your court today.